With a sometimes notorious life, dramatic death, and remarkable storytelling craft, Alexander Pushkin secured his reputation as Russia's national poet, in the league of Shakespeare or Dante. He lived during the 19th century westernization of Russia, during which time European literary genres like romantic poetry and the sentimental novel were imported and became popular. Pushkin's most famous work, Eugene Onegin, which he called a novel in verse, was clearly influenced by the 1819 publication of Don Juan, by that superstar rascal of the age, Lord Byron. So naturally, Eugene Onegin features a Byronic hero, though interestingly, the poet distances himself from that central character at the end, a subtle redirect from romance towards realism. Just as Dante created words that became part of the Italian language, and Shakespeare did the same for English, so Alexander Pushkin helped to create what is now modern literary Russian. And just like Shakespeare, many lines from Pushkin's poems have become proverbs, empowered operas, and even inspired great composers like Tchaikovsky, who set Eugene Onegin to music. In Pushkin's lifetime, the sentimental novel, in vogue in Europe, came to Russia, with its trademark of replacing events with feelings, as the central elements of each story's narrative. But competing influences on 19th century Russian society included rationalists like Voltaire and the seductively passionate works of Byron, which had already inspired even the scientific Goethe. Many believe that Don Juan was Byron's masterpiece and that it became Pushkin's template, hence his Byronic hero Onegin. Handsome, stylish, wealthy, and jaded from a luxurious early life. However, Pushkin's debt to Byron also includes verse form and tone, because Byron, despite his legendary romanticism, deeply admired the mental agility and discipline of 18th century poetry. Hence, in Don Juan, Byron used the complex verse form ottava rima. Apparently inspired by this, Pushkin went one better, inventing a totally new verse form, now called the Onegin stanza. As in Byron's poem, Don Juan, and also Henry Fielding's realist novel, Tom Jones, the reader's primary relationship in Eugene Onegin is with the narrator, not with the characters themselves. So let's survey the plot of Eugene Onegin, an echo of his creator Alexander Pushkin, and the poet's muse, Lord Byron, who both, like many rock stars, lived fast, loved hard, and died young, and who, like many tragically short-lived musicians, left a mark on the world through a level of intricacy and brilliance in their craft, ironic in its contrast to their self-destructive natures. In Pushkin's masterwork, rich, good-looking Eugene Onegin inherits a country estate, moves there, and since lacking truly noble company, befriends a romantic poet called Lenski. Lenski is in love with Olga, daughter of a neighboring family, and on meeting her, Onegin also encounters Tatiana, her older, plainer, bookish sister, who falls immediately in love with him. Tatiana, an addict of sentimental novels, succumbs to Don Quixote-like romanticism and sends Onegin a letter the very next day, pledging undying love and offering herself to him as his wife. But after letting time elapse, Onegin tells Tatiana that he cannot love her and gives her a long, condescending lecture, telling her to be more prudent when emotional impulses next strike. A petty matter escalates into a rift between Onegin and Lenski, with foolish provocation leading to a duel in which Onegin kills his friend. After a sad time abroad, he returns to St. Petersburg. Back in noble society, he sees a stunningly beautiful woman, oozing poise and elegance, enter the room at a party. It's a self-realized, mature Tatiana, and now Onegin falls helplessly in love. Hopelessly smitten, he pursues her for months, until she, now married to a much older prince who is also a general, confronts him and scolds him for now wanting her for the wrong reasons. Tatiana confesses that though she never stopped loving Onegin, she won't allow him to ruin her new life. And after also declaring that she'll forever remain faithful to her husband, she leaves. Onegin, shattered and finally humbled, lingers numbly on the spot until the winner, Tatiana's husband himself, enters the room. And at that exact point, Pushkin ends the poem. While this plot might sound a tad depressing, the poem itself is actually witty, wholesome, and positive, and more about reconciling us to the human condition than labeling it as sorrowful. Some critics theorize that Eugene Onegin is also that vehicle by which the Byronic hero, outstanding, yes, but also a dreamy narcissist, finally gets slapped down to earth with a firm no. Interestingly, the poem shows that its every character, like Don Quixote, has been shaped by their reading. Tatiana by sentimental novels, Lenski by German and English romantic poetry. Pushkin even specifies that Onegin, like his creator, likes reading Byron in a clever scene in which Tatiana browses Onegin's library, then wonders if he's real or just channeling literature. By deploying situations and characters typical of Byronic poetry and sentimental novels, but relocating them to a real-world St. Petersburg, Pushkin creates a new kind of fusion realism, and by ending his poem with stability winning the day, as in Tatiana choosing respectable marriage over the dashing, handsome Onegin, Pushkin hints at the sunset of the romantic story. His often wild life met its own sunset in a dramatic tragedy of the very kind he'd written about. For following rumors of infidelity on the part of his wife, Pushkin demanded a real-world duel. On January 27, 1837, near Black River, St. Petersburg, he faced former French military officer Georges Dantes with a pistol. Critically wounded, Russia's greatest poet died 48 hours later. The Shakespeare of his nation, the literary giant who signaled the transition from romantic to realist novel genres, was gone at 37, having lived just 1 year longer than his hero, Lord Byron.
If you found Eugene Onegin's frustrated love story achingly engaging, check out the Medieval East's romantic equivalent, where more longing and tears await you in episode 17.